title of my presentation is Energy's Grand Challenges. The nice thing about this being so challenging is that it does provide opportunity for kids. It provides opportunities for kids to be engineers and work and have a long career in the energy industry. Today, oil and gas is a fossil fuel. Today in the U.S., 85.5% of the energy we use from fossil fuels, either oil, natural gas, or coal. The United States Energy Information Agency, which is a part of the Department of Energy, has looked at the future. They say that by 2025, we're still going to be getting 87% of our energy from fossil fuels, 13% from nuclear and alternatives such as wind and biomass and solar. We're doing a lot in this country to ramp up the use of solar energy, to ramp up the use of wind energy. But changes in an infrastructure that large take an incredibly long time. Some of the infrastructure may change simply from coal to natural gas because it's less carbon intensive. And so the industry is important to the country, it's important to the world. And just finding energy in general. I mean, we're interested as an engineering society. Obviously, most of our expertise is in oil and natural gas, but we're interested in all forms of energy and promoting all forms of energy. And here's global demand for predictions of global demand for energy. This, starting in 2006, it's predicted that energy demand is going to increase by 45% by the year 2030. That's in spite of all that we're doing to try to conserve energy. We've got growing economies in Asia, in places like China and India especially, that are driving the demand for energy. As those countries move from emerging economies to stronger economies in the world, they need more energy. They want to have lifestyles just like ours. 20 years ago, if you were at Tiananmen Square in Beijing, you see bicycles everywhere. Now in Tiananmen Square, all you see are automobiles. They want the same kind of lifestyle we have. And they seem to want not just cars, but SUVs and cars that use a lot of gasoline. And so the demand for energy is increasing globally. And so even as we try to conserve energy, other places in the world are increasing their use. And that's going to come, there's going to be, in the next couple of decades, significant, huge increases in the amount of energy we get from alternative energy sources, things like solar and wind. But there's also going to need to be increases from the fossil fuels that we use as well, and we're going to need to find ways to deal with carbon emissions from those sources. This is a photo from space from the 1970s. And what you see, the little white dots, are basically just lights, electric lights at night. And to illustrate this, the challenge we have, this is 2005. And whereas before you couldn't see the outline of India, now you can see the outline of India. You see more electricity everywhere on the planet. We've got to find ways to improve our electrical grid. Most of the infrastructure for our electrical grid was built decades ago. As we develop energy sources like wind and solar, we've got to find a way to deal with the fact that wind and solar energy are not constant. We need electricity at night, but solar works during the day. We've got to be able to store the electricity. We've got to be able to transport electricity long distances. We lose power from electricity to resistance, and yet some of the places that are the best places for producing wind energy are like in the Panhandle of Texas. Not that far from here, but it's a great deal of distance from places like Chicago and Los Angeles and that kind of thing. We've got to figure out ways to, another challenge is trying to figure out ways to make the use of coal cleaner, to develop clean coal technology that sequester the carbon dioxide. And I anticipate increasing the use of natural gas. One of the things that has been very important in the U.S. over the last several years has been the development of shale gas from formations like the Marcellus in Pennsylvania, New York, and the Barnett Shale in North Texas. More and more natural gas is being produced in the U.S., and that's going to be important to the challenge as well. So we've got, as I said, we've got a modernized electricity grid. We've got to find another challenge, of course, is to use the fuels that we have more efficiently. We've got to continue to make our automobiles more efficient, find ways to use more hybrids, make them less expensive, redesign homes. We've just got to find ways to use less energy if we're going to meet the challenges that we have before us. Another challenge for us in our industry is simply finding the oil that's left. We found all the easy oil and the easy natural gas, and now we're working on the more difficult oil and gas. What this shows is actually a 3D visualization room at probably a major oil company. We're able to use, the relatively inexpensive computing power we have now to create visual images of an underground formation, and we're able to work with those images and work with oil and gas reservoirs in ways that we never thought we could possibly do 20 years ago or 30 years ago when I started in the industry. And so there's incredible computing power that has to be used. There are plenty of opportunities for young people to get into all aspects of technology in our industry. We're able to use that technology to do more and find more of the hard-to-find oil. How important is oil? Well, we use about 19.5 million barrels of oil per day in this country. It probably won't surprise you to know that the United States is the largest consuming country in the world when it comes to oil. What may surprise you is that we also produce about 8.5 million barrels of oil per day. And we're actually the third largest producing country when it comes to oil. The only two countries that produce more oil than the United States are Russia and Saudi Arabia. And so we're a world-class producer as well as the largest consumer. And of course, most of the time when we talk about oil, we talk about gasoline. But the fact is, oil is used in numerous products that we use every day. And so it does things that help make our lives better. I see a number of you with plastic water bottles on your tables. Those all come from oil. A lot of the things that you're wearing come from oil. Components in the cameras that you're using come from oil. Some parts of my suit may come from oil, nobody, most of it's oil. But the thing is, we use oil without thinking about it in every part of our lives. And so it's really critical to our way of living. Our industry in the U.S. every day produces natural gas to heat 80 million homes, 382 billion gallons of gasoline every day. And we not just produce that gasoline, but we distribute it to gas stations and market it and deliver it to people all over the country. We produce 67 million gallons of jet fuel that are used for 30,000 flights every day.